Hey
Hi.
everyone. Great to be here with you virtually.
Yes.
I have my friend Nadia here with me for this kind of fun virtual cocktail hour we're doing from the comfort of my kitchen here in Austin, Texas. Nadia is joining from Toronto, Canada.
Yep.
And I know a lot of people are streaming in from Wisconsin, California, all over the world. So thanks for joining us. I'm excited to be here tonight. And a big thank you also, actually want to give a shout out to Justine and Lindsay and Corey, who have been kind of conducting this magic that's happening with Stimulus TV, which is a really cool initiative that's helping people who have lost work due to COVID share their talents with the world. So this is really fun. So yeah, without further ado, as per the name of this segment, Sotol versus tequila, I'm going to give you guys a little lesson, a little education on what Sotol is and how it compares to tequila, and then touch on some fun ways to make cocktails with Sotol, because it's a great spirit that you can add to your whole group of alcohols that you usually make drinks with.
So I've never actually heard of Sotol, and I feel very ashamed because I drink a lot. I've tasted a lot of different things. So can you just tell me what it is to start? Because I've literally never heard of it.
Sure, and a lot of people haven't heard of it. It's actually, there's only one distillery in the United States that's currently making Sotol. Traditionally and for centuries, it's been made in Mexico. The plant grows. It's native to the Chihuahua Desert, and so they've been making it in Mexico for hundreds of years. But there's evidence that they've been making it in Texas for even longer than that. Of course, before Texas was a state, but in this region. And basically, Sotol is a type of plant. It's a succulent. It's part of the succulent family, and also part of the asparagus and artichoke family. But so I have right here, this is the heart of the Sotol plant, which, as you can see, it kind of has some.
It looks like an artichoke.
Yeah, exactly. It has these little things exactly like an artichoke. That, interestingly, it's also called desert spoon, and you can kind of see why. Because when it's steamed, you could eat this as you would an artichoke. It's a lot sweeter because it's starchy. But yeah, so Sotol is its own type of spirit, just as gin, just as vodka, mezcal and tequila are from the same plant, which is a different plant from the Sotol plant. So they're not to be confused with one another, even though they often are.
Similar, like in terms of the actual spirits?
Do they smell similar? No. They're very different on the nose, and I think that has a lot to do with the plant. So, as I mentioned, the Sotol plant is native to the Chihuahua Desert and primarily West Texas. It also grows in Central Texas as well, but it grows like wildfire out in West Texas and other parts of the Chihuahua Desert. What's interesting too, actually, if you read sort of the description of this whole talk, what's interesting about Sotol is it's a much more sustainable plant than the agave plant, which is used to make tequila and mezcal. So yeah, you'll find Sotol everywhere in West Texas. It's actually kind of a nuisance to a lot of farmers because it grows so abundantly.
Yeah.
It seeds itself year round, which is unlike the agave plant.
Yeah.
so sustainable for that reason. And a lot of farmers want it off their land because it's such a nuisance. So they, gladly get rid of it. Also, as I mentioned, it's a succulent, so it sucks up the water, which is especially frustrating for farmers. So they're happy to.
Like the deserts of West Texas, like they need to hold on with the water that they can.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So anyway, these guys, actually it's 3 military vets, came together. They were in business school, grad school at UT, and they realized that there's this abundant plant that historically has been used to make this sotol spirit for hundreds and hundreds of years. And for some reason, nobody was doing it in the U.S. So they jumped on the opportunity, and now we're benefiting in Texas. This Desert Door, as I mentioned, is the name of the distillery that's just outside of Austin. Yeah. And there are lots of different kinds of sotol. Mexico has been bottling it and making it for a long time, centuries, but commercializing it only since 1994. It was banned in Mexico until 1994.
It was banned?
Yeah.
Why?
So there's a lot of controversy about why. It actually was believed that it was banned in the United States as well.
Okay.
But some believe it was because of Prohibition era kind of leaking through to Mexico. Some believe that actually the mafia was even involved.
Like the tequila racket, is that what it was? Like nothing can upstage tequila. That's not allowed.
Yeah.
I'm drinking tequila, so I believe that. That's crazy.
I'm definitely a fan of, I have been a fan of tequila for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Getting introduced to Sotol has been really fun for me, because it's very different from tequila. Kind of as you were touching on earlier, the flavor is very earthy. It's very herbaceous, actually almost creamy, which is super interesting because it's a clear liquid. But a lot of people prefer the taste to Sotol, interestingly, because it's much smoother. It's got a much softer taste to it than tequila, which can sometimes be a little bit harsh.
Right.
I'm going to pour a little of the Sotol into these copitas, which is a traditional kind of way that you would drink Sotol.
That bottle is beautiful too. Very nice presentation.
So it's actually, all of these bottles are handmade and hand embossed.
Wow.
And Desert Door repurposes them to, use for various other purposes at the distillery out in Driftwood, which they have a beautiful tasting room. It's a gorgeous area. If anybody's ever in Texas and in that area, go check out Desert Door.
Mm-hmm.
You can drink Sotol. You can drink it just neat like this. It's a very versatile type of spirit. It's kind of like vodka in its versatility.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of any cocktail that you would otherwise use vodka or tequila or even gin, you could substitute Sotol.
It's funny that you say gin because the way you were describing it, herbaceous and, like flavorful, but like still smoother than you would think, that sounds really gin-like to me.
Yeah.
So it's like the gin almost, not of tequila because it's a different plant, but like kind of almost in that family.
Right. Yeah, actually a lot of people that have tasted in the tastings that I've done with this Sotol, a lot of people have mentioned that, like, if they could describe it, it might land kind of flavor profile wise between tequila and a gin.
Yeah. Interesting. I wish I had some to taste too right now.
Yeah, I wish you did too. I wish.
Using you with my tequila, and tell me how that tastes. It looks delicious. Sounds delicious.
So, as I mentioned, it's much smoother on the tongue than tequila is. It's creamy. You definitely get a lot of vegetal flavors, herbaceousness, which is, because it's a plant, you get a lot of the flavors of the land, the terroir, just like the wines. But it's very smooth, very easy drinking. So yeah, I've become a big Sotol fan since moving to Texas. But prior to living here, I had never heard of Sotol. I didn't know what it was. Had no idea that it was a type of spirit, completely different from tequila. So it's been a fun exploration process. And very, Desert Door is actually only 2 years old, so it's kind of a new whole experiment in the Austin area. But soon, Desert Door will be moving throughout the country. Currently, you can find it in Colorado, Texas, California, and Tennessee. But hopefully soon it'll be elsewhere.
And in Texas.
In Canada, yeah. You can definitely find other types of Sotol throughout the country and throughout the world because, as I mentioned, Mexico has been making Sotol commercially since 1994, after the ban was lifted. Yeah, it's fun to learn about a new spirit, fun to learn about a new plant. This is actually sticky to the touch because this plant is so starchy.
Right.
With Sotol, traditionally you would, at least with Desert Doors Sotol, they steam this heart, the piña. So you don't have the smoky flavor that you would have if you were tasting a mezcal.
Right.
It's much smoother.
Are you going to make a cocktail with it? Do you have a favorite cocktail that you make with it?
Yeah, so this segment's actually going to be weekly on Wednesday nights, and each week I'm going to kind of walk you through a fun new Sotol cocktail. My favorite, personally, is called a ranch water, and it's just Topo Chico or any type of just sparkling water, seltzer, unflavored, preferably if you can use fresh lime. If not, feel free to use any type of sparkling water that has a flavor you like in it, like grapefruit or whatever. But, yeah. 1 second. So I just put some ice. I don't have the fancy ice cubes, the circular ones that melt slower, but that's all right. And then I just do a shot of Sotol.
Okay.
Pour it in your glass. Oh, you can't see. Can you?
Yay.
And then mix it with some sparkling water of choice. And then just get some fresh lime. Kind of soft. Yeah.
Getting a call.
And just squeeze some fresh lime in there.
Easy peasy.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Ranch water. Super simple. Just Sotol, ice, of course, sparkling water, and some fresh lime.
Love it.
And
something, no matter who you are, chances are you have the stuff to make that at home. You just need the spirit if you don't have it. That's perfect.
Yeah, and it's really refreshing, very light. There's no sugar in it, obviously. Didn't add any sugar, and kind of how I prefer my drinks, not super sweet, but it's really refreshing. Ranch water traditionally is made with, you actually can make it with either Sotol or tequila.
Okay.
We make it with Sotol at Desert Door. But yeah, I encourage you to give this a try.
I need to find myself some Sotol.
Yeah, I'll have to look into what's available for you in Canada.
Yeah. And I mean, that's clearly a Texas thing, because you hadn't even heard of it before you got to Texas.
Definitely a Texas thing, a Chihuahua Desert, part of Mexico thing. And our goal is to kind of spread the word about it now, because it's such a great and versatile spirit.
Yeah.
Why not let other people enjoy part of it too?
And I like that it's sustainable. Like, that's the kind of thing that people are thinking about right now, even when it comes down to their cocktails, right? So knowing that it's a plant that's so abundantly available to the point where, like, these guys are probably getting paid to take it off of people's farmlands. Like, that's a cash cow right there. It's smart.
Yeah. I mean, that part of this whole process is super important and very, very applicable, especially now. I think people in the tequila business, once they realize that the Sotol plant grows like wildfire, it's everywhere, and it reseeds itself year round, it's wild harvested. And yeah, as I mentioned, farmers want to get it off their land. It's a much more sustainable and cheaper practice in the long run. But
something desirable too. Like, that just is going to be the way of the future. So they're getting really ahead of the game. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Would you say you prefer it to tequila?
I can't say I prefer it necessarily, because they're very different flavors. I definitely like both.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm in the mood for alcohol, and sometimes I'm in the mood for tequila.
Would you say for someone who, is it like a good gateway spirit? Like, I was a vodka girl for so long, and then I started getting into other spirits, and now I love everything. Would this be something that's a good starting point for someone who is more into, say, just like the wine and the vodka and less intimidating spirits? Is it a more inclusive and welcoming spirit, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, I've actually talked to a lot of people, a lot of customers, a lot of people that I've served that have said they really can't drink much hard liquor, and they really love Sotol because it's smooth. It's not a real harsh flavor. It's much more palatable. So yeah, I like your phrase, gateway spirit or a gateway liquor. It's definitely. I think it's easy drinking for sure.
Am I allowed to tease what? Can you tease what future cocktails you're gonna make? From the sense of it, I'm only saying because I would love to see if it would work in a Mexican martini.
Oh, well, yeah.
Based on how you described it, I think the flavors could go, and I really wish I could have one.
Yeah, Mexican martini. That's a great idea for future cocktail hour weeks. The ones that I kind of had on deck for the future weeks are what's called a Riverita, which is like a Sotol version of a margarita.
Ooh, that sounds really tasty.
We did the ranch water today.
Mm-hmm.
So interestingly, what Desert Door has done with some of their Sotol is they barrel aged it. So this is a totally different kind of type of spirit because they aged it in whiskey barrels.
Ooh, I feel like I'd like that.
So this is a very unique spirit because Sotol traditionally hasn't really done that.
Yeah.
The Desert Door guys, I think, were really interested in experimenting with flavors and seeing kind of the flavors that the Sotol would pick up from aging it in whiskey barrels. So with this one, in the upcoming weeks, I'm going to make a Sotol Old Fashioned.
Yeah, that's really good.
It has a lot of the whiskey kind of notes to it. It's definitely more for a whiskey drinker. So it's great in an Old Fashioned, which is interesting. It's kind of remarkable that you can take a spirit that you created from one plant and it's so versatile. You can put it in a whiskey barrel and suddenly it picks up all these whiskey notes and makes a totally different cocktail.
Honestly, like that's one thing, like doing the work that I've done with Addicted and being able to do all these tastings and learn so much about different spirits, like what always struck me is like the innovation that can come from that. Like I have a spirit that I love that similarly is also only available in the States. Break my heart, why don't you? But they take their spirit and they put it in a Caribbean rum bottle and it develops a whole new flavor profile. And they'll put it in a sherry cask and it'll develop another flavor profile. So it's always interesting that this game of, like the alcohol game, like the way that people can just get so creative, like there's so much more to it than just fermenting something and, drinking it until you feel buzzed. Like there's just so much innovation and artistry to it. So it's interesting to see that they've done that with this as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's the age of getting to taste those things.
Yeah.
But I don't want to skip. It was promised to be kind of an education on Sotol versus tequila, so I feel like I should touch on some more of the differences.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, it's a totally different plant. It's the Sotol plant or desert spoon. Tequila is made from the agave plant, and there are various types of agave. Tequila specifically is made from blue agave. And so Sotol and tequila are technically second cousins because the plants are similar. They look similar. You'll kind of see that they resemble one another. Tequila specifically is made from blue agave. And so Sotol and tequila are technically second cousins. The plants
Hi.
Hi, Jem.
Hey, I just figured out how to do this, but it's amazing content. I've been enjoying it on the Twitch. Nice to see you both.
Yeah, it's great to see you.
I'm not sure if I was starting to kind of give the difference between Sotol and tequila, and gave the background on Sotol already, but was getting into discuss the differences and tequila specifically, which is made from the blue agave plant. And
Pour myself some tequila while we're at it.
Nice.
I have Casadores.
Oh,
Nice. That's
favorite.
good.
Good
Good
stuff.
stuff.
Casadores Anejo, actually.
Yeah.
you missed it earlier, Jen, but I made what's called ranch water.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw. I was on the watching from the Stimulus like Twitch channel.
Oh,
So
nice.
I caught all the info. But yeah, no one knows tequila better than Erica Larson.
Definitely true. I'm going to get some ice. I'll be right back.
And now so tall in comparison.
Yeah, I know that's really cool. I didn't know anything about it until today.
Yeah, so tequila, as some of you may know, has different classifications for how long it's been aged. There's Blanco, which is basically not aged. There's the middle ground called Reposado, which is, I think it literally means to rest. So it's been aged for 3 to 6 months, I believe, is the range. And then Añejo is the oldest aged tequila. And because tequila and Sotol are totally different, I was actually talking about this Sotol that Desert Door aged in whiskey barrels. But it doesn't fall under the same aging, the same aging process, the same aging category. So you can't say like this Sotol is Blanco, this one is Añejo, this one is Reposado, because they're different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How long would they standardly age it for in general? Like, what's the minimum?
Tequila.
Yeah.
So Blanco, I believe, isn't aged at all. So it's basically, they distill it. They however long the distillation process takes for tequila, which I don't know off the top of my head. But
And what's for Sotol? Do they age it for?
no. So Sotol is kind of the same thing. It's they steam the heart of it. They press it actually becomes sort of like a mulch. This heart, which I mentioned was very sticky. And actually going back to the sustainability factor of Sotol, once the heart is pressed and this like mulchy stuff is made, it's actually given back to farmers and serves as a really great, mulch, really fertilizer for farmers because it's very starchy. The naturally occurring sugar. So it's really it gives back to farmers for multiple reasons, which is another really cool thing about this spirit. It's sustainable yet again.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
So you could make a ranch water with tequila also, and wouldn't necessarily be called anything different. It would just have tequila, sparkling water of choice, and a splash of lime. And yeah, the flavor profiles are very different, as I touched on earlier also. Here I have another copita to kind of do a taste comparison with you guys. Again, I wish I could serve you all of you watching.
We'll just have to coordinate next time and have all the same stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Although it is pretty cool. I mean, the fact that we're doing this and we're able to kind of all virtually be together. Pretty awesome. So this, I just have a Casamigos Blanco tequila. I'm partial to Casamigos personally, but there's some really wonderful tequilas out there that are, kind of run the gamut of the price ranges. But anyway, so this is Blanco tequila, which means it hasn't been aged. And flavor profile wise, it's a little more harsh on the tongue than Sotol is. Doesn't have the same creaminess, but this in particular, this tequila has a real sort of vanilla flavor, which is especially interesting from a Blanco tequila because typically you get that more when it's been aged. But as I mentioned, tequila has a little bit more of a bite to it, which some people like and some people don't.
Mm-hmm.
So are you drinking out of a little stone? Is this a stone cup?
Called a copita.
Oh, nice.
It's actually clay.
Oh, okay.
But traditionally, this is kind of what Sotol was drank out of. But yeah, does anyone have any questions? Do you guys want to chime in with anything that?
What's the price point difference between like a Sotol and tequila? Is there a difference or?
So actually price-wise, they're about the same, at least for like Blanco tequila and Sotol hasn't been aged. That all depends on what brand you're going with, of course. Going with something more sort of top shelf, that's going to be more expensive. Like Casamigos is a little bit more top shelf, technically. Personally, I'm a big fan of Espolón tequila, which is a lower price point. Their Reposado, for instance, is I think around $30 US. And then under 30 for the Blanco.
Yeah.
And of course that depends also on the store you're buying it from and various factors. But that's a good question. Price-wise, they're about the same if you're going with the Blanco. Anything aged in the tequila range is definitely going to become more expensive. Or it's resting for longer. Oftentimes it's in whiskey barrels. Actually, Espolón does a whiskey barrel aged tequila that's really nice, and still at quite a good price point. Just below $50 for that one. But yeah.
Have you ever had Sotol, Jen? Like, have you found it here?
Not that I know of. I don't know. Erica, have I ever had Sotol?
No.
Okay.
I tried my first mezcal with Erica, so that's like a valid question.
Yeah.
I went to that mezcal place in Toronto.
Yeah. And we ate up, didn't we? We had the
Cricket.
The cricket. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've had Sotol, but now I definitely want to try it out. What would you recommend?
Canadians on the feed right now, do you think?
Who?
Are there any Canadians on the feed that would care if I found it at the LCBO?
I care.
I care.
Scott cares.
2, sweet. Well, 3, counting me.
Come in for a little cameo.
I do. Sorry, I just finished doing some live videos myself talking about wine. So
A little fun going on?
Oh yeah.
I do. Yeah, it's
The
my
whole
my COVID
situation.
hair. So I won't let Jen touch my hair. So I don't like wearing a hat too much anymore. So I've just been putting it up in kind of this is a really mild version. I've gone some really flare versions in Zoom calls lately.
I French braided it.
a little like French braid mohawk.
I did, yeah.
She's done that before. Yeah, it's really nice actually. I just like not being in my face. So
Yeah, I'm not having good luck finding Sotal on the Canadian internet, so I'm gonna source this through my liquor contacts.
yeah, I'll do the same too. I'll do the same.
Yeah, because right now it's probably
Maybe-
similar
yeah.
to you guys. You can get everything direct from like distributors.
I had
So-
one to me, it was great. And
Pardon me for not seeing the first part, but I'm assuming it's made in the same way as tequila with the same ingredients. It's just not in that area, so it can't have the name, or is it slightly different in the production?
It's actually, I mean, it's entirely different in that it's a different plant from tequila.
Okay, so it's not the agave.
It's not the
It's not the agave, but it's made kind of the same way from something similar. I'm imagining, right?
Yeah, so actually, and here I'll show you since you weren't here earlier.
Thank you. Sorry, I just like knowing more about alcoholic beverages.
that is really sticky. Like every time you touch
Oh,
it, you
wow.
come out and you're like,
Sticky and it's sharp. I just
So it's like touching Canadian maple syrup every time you hold it. Maybe kind
Where
of like
did you
beeswax.
find that?
Mexican pineapple covered in maple syrup is kind of what it looks like.
Exactly. No, it looks okay. So I get the vibe of it now. That's amazing.
This
So
is-
they distill it from that.
Yeah, this is just the heart, but this is actually the heart of the Sotal plant.
Okay. So it would be much bigger.
Also known, yeah. It's, I mean, it has the leaves that are similar to agave, but they're thinner.
They're thinner. So kind of like a pineapple almost like that.
Kind of, although they're long.
They're longer, of course. Yeah.
So it's actually like a second cousin of the agave plant.
It has some of the taste profile, but also something completely different as well.
Yeah, I mean it's similar, but really so different in flavor profile. Sotal is often, at least, I mean it's, and especially talking to you, Scott, who you know terroir, how terroir really influences the flavor depending on what the plant is getting from the ground. So Sotal really thrives in the Chihuahua Desert and West Texas, also in Central Texas too. But the plant, you get a lot of herbaceousness, a lot of vegetal flavors, but it's also very creamy. Interestingly, I don't really know what causes that. 'Cause it's a clear liquid when it's distilled.
Yeah, definitely the terroir will change, so it's obviously a Texas-based cousin of tequila and mezcal,
Mm-hmm.
but on its own, standalone, so very unique. And so what was the name of the drink you made? Using
Ranch water.
ranch water, okay. That seems appropriate.
Yeah, it's good ingredients. It's like soda water and like lime.
Yeah.
Simple but really refreshing.
A good quarantine beverage. Keeps you hydrated. You probably have the ingredients around already.
Yeah, get a buzz to forget about what's going on.
Yeah.
But because you're hydrating, you won't be as hungover the next day. And so
Yes,
Yes.
that is, yeah.
a good first start cocktail, Erica. I approve.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. I just mix like a pint of water in between every drink or two, and I've been okay. But the first couple weeks of quarantine, I think we're a little laissez-faire, and there were some mornings I'd like to forget. But yeah, it's a fun time to be able to enjoy things, but it's also a time to be cautious about how much you're actually enjoying them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some,
For me.
but this is great to do something like this where you're not just like mindlessly
Absolutely.
consuming, you're learning at the same time.
Just
so
something new.
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
I
Look
kind of want to go
Sotal.
back to Texas. I was there briefly for a day in Dallas. I flew back from Cabo through Texas, and my cousin lives there. She works for American Airlines, and I had a good time. It was a fun spot. I'd never been to Texas before, so I'm definitely intrigued to go back now and
Yeah.
try some
Once they
Sotal
open the
and
borders, we can
ranch
visit
water.
Erica.
Erica was the last person I saw.
True.
Like literally, I was in Texas for a few days and I had to go back into quarantine, and I haven't been social since. So you're
Yeah.
the first person I saw. You and Jose are the last people I socialized with.
Aw.
I know.
We went out to a restaurant, and the next day, everything was closed.
Oh yeah. I literally
That
went back to Canada and they slammed the door behind me.
Yeah, no doubt. And you got in when it was still probably they barely cared. You know,
They
you
didn't do anything at the border.
yeah, they didn't care, right? Yeah.
No. But yeah, this is why this is great. You're literally the last person I saw in real life.
That's excellent.
I'll see you guys again. But here we are all together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Excited for the rest of the series. And I'm going to have to get myself some Sotal before we do this again.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Google search was not fruitful.
We'll search.
So.
I would highly recommend getting a bottle if you guys can in Canada. I mean, in Texas, you can get a Total Wine at Specs, Twin Liquors we have here. But most of the like Total Wine has different types of Sotal. Not Desert Door because it's such a new company and they're only in a couple states in the U.S. still. But yeah, check it out. And I think the flavor profile also really can be very different with Sotal depending on where, what part of the Chihuahua Desert or what part of Texas the plant was harvested from. I just actually, another little tidbit of interesting information about Sotal is there's been a little bit of kind of a conflict between the U.S. making Sotal and Mexico because it's been made in Mexico for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Mhm.
And they really, made claim to it once the ban was lifted in 1994. But they're wanting to hold on to the name Sotal for just Mexico, just as you can't call sparkling wine that's not made in Champagne.
Champagne, yeah. So
Yeah.
sparkling wine or Cremant, yeah.
That makes
That's
sense.
too bad.
There's a
I
little
was just
like
talking.
what you can call it technically.
Yeah, because like you're better off working together than you are individually. I was just saying with my guest from the Naramata and the Okanagan, the wine regions, there's a lot of small places that operate and quite different places, but they all work together because they know that if you build up the whole region and the name, then everyone benefits. It's not just like us versus them. So it's too bad that Mexico wants to do that because, hey, who cares the name? You guys make it. It's the same plant. Like, sure, like we know wine from different places is going to taste different, so you just put where it's from on the bottle, but it should all be the same name.
Yeah, but I think, if they were doing it for the hundreds of years and then all of a sudden the U.S. comes and tries to capitalize, like especially if there was perhaps a nice import situation happening and all of a sudden now, they're maybe losing out and, to the same point of like champagne versus sparkling wine, like it could be inspired by Sotal. Although if that's the name of the plant,
Yeah.
that's also a different.
Oh, it's the name of the plant. Okay. So that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Right in, just go on down the hall. Unit 121 on the right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's definitely a little different. Yeah, and you're not calling it region. It's not like wow.
Totally.
Yeah.
I totally understand too. Like we use grapes here in Canada and the U.S. that have been growing in Europe for hundreds of years. We owe everything we have to them. So there's definitely something about tipping your hat, but yeah, it's still wine. I don't have to change the name. I mean, we do between Syrah and Shiraz and Pinot Gris and Pinot Grigio, depending on the climate it's grown in, but essentially it's the same grape. So. But it sounds great. I'm excited. I'm really gonna look into all my my avenues to find some of this stuff and spread the word.
Finding it now, so by next week we can all be tasting the same. Well, as close to the same thing as we can get, since we can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds awesome.
Pardon me for 1 second. Our Uber just showed up.
What of things is now? That's a good question.
Mhm.
And actually, that's in looking into that. That's when I found out this kind of conflict is happening between the name and being because Trump he signed. I don't remember the acronym, but it's the USD something agreement that actually was to encourage the trade versus discourage, which was really interesting because that's kind of the opposite of what's necessarily advertised. But as for currently with COVID, I have no idea if, what the import status is.
Oh yeah, that's another good point.
But it really was on January 20-something, I think, Trump signed this agreement, and it was to encourage trade, which is that's what really irked the sotoleros, as they're called, in Mexico, because they've been doing this for so long, and it's like we want to keep ownership of what we've been doing for hundreds of years.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And do you notice a difference? You're drinking mostly Texan Sotals right now, but you've had ones from Mexico as well?
Yes, I have. And there's definitely a difference. There's a difference some Sotol can be made in the way that Mezcal is made, so it has the smokiness, and it's actually, kind of a fire burning process, which gives it smoky flavors.
Mm-hmm.
Versus a steaming process, which is what Desert Door uses.
Mm-hmm.
So I have had Sotol that's kind of done in the same way that Mezcal is, which to touch on that just briefly, Mezcal is also made from the blue agave, the agave plant. It's just a different preparation process, a different essentially distillation process that gets you to, the final product that is alcohol. It uses fire and to create that smoky flavor. Traditionally in Mexico, they definitely do use that similar mezcal preparation for Sotol that gives it like a smoky flavor.
Okay, cool. Excellent.
Yeah, I like smoky.
Yeah.
I'll try it. I tried searching again, couldn't find it, so I think it's going to be a mission.
Okay. Let us know what you
I'm
find.
going to keep it busy through the
Yeah.
So
That's
all-
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm down for a mission.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when it involves wine or alcohol.
Track down Sotol.
We totally will. Thanks so much for inviting us, Erica. I really appreciate it. It's a good way to spend a Wednesday night.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you. I'm on a roll tonight. I'm just learning as much as I can about wine and Sotol.
Yes.